All right, I'm going to teach you how to use the Pug mill. Some of the basics are the control panel right here. This is your stop button, start button. You have this switch that on the left-hand side is for Pug. When you flip it, it's for mix. So mixing is what you'll do most of the time when you're adding your clay, and Pug is after it's all mixed up to a good consistency, it extrudes it out. Then you have the speed control. You don't have to really worry about that. I normally have it up as high as possible. And then the bottom one is for vacuuming, and that's when it's filled, you vacuum out all the air pockets so that it pugs out really nice, good clay. The other location is going to be the hopper area. There's just a vice grips handle that you pinch close, and there's a little piece of metal that it clamps down on. You release that and open it up, and this is your chamber that you're going to be adding clay. There's a few blades in there, so just be aware. They're not razor sharp, but you do want to know where they are. What I like to do is put a bunch of clay in here until I can't pack it in, and I'll use the handle to push the clay down, and I'll hit the start button to advance the tumbler just a little bit, and it normally opens up another air pocket that I can then continue filling with clay. The other locations of items is here is your pressure gauge, and there's an on-off valve. Normally when it's perpendicular, that means it's closed and create a vacuum. When you're done with it, you have to release it, so open it so that it's parallel in line. This is another chamber that you should check. Any clay that is kind of overflowing will go into this chamber, and so we want to make sure that that stays clean, especially before we vacuum. So there's a step of checking that before you go to vacuum. So I normally have plastic over this to help because your hands will be full of clay, and so that it doesn't damage any of the controls. There's not a lot of science to this. You're going to go into your reclaim bucket, and hopefully that there's a good balance of, fairly nice clay, and you probably have some kind of wet wheel clay, and it's about a balance of that. So finding some really nice soft stuff to balance out those slightly drier things. If you have a lot of really dry things, then you might want to go into the sink and kind of clean that out and get the slip that's in the bottom of the white sink. So we just want to balance putting in the wet and the dry. I kind of like to alternate. And feel free to kind of pack it down in there. There's quite a bit of room. It can hold the equivalent of 5 bags of clay, about 140 pounds. So that's quite a bit of clay that can go in here. Normally, I can get about a half of a bucket if it's really full, to 2/3 of a bucket in one load. I can probably pug, if I'm kind of staying focused, I can pug about 4 loads in an hour. Okay. So you fill it up, and don't be afraid to fill it up almost to the top. Okay. So right now I have it fairly full, and what I'll do is I'll use the lid to help push that down. And feel free to use your body to press that. I'm going to clamp it down, and then I'm just going to hit start. It's on mix already, so just hit start for a couple seconds. All I'm trying to do is get that chunk of clay to rotate around, lift it open. Now I have more room to start putting it in. Okay, so I'll just keep doing that for quite some time. All right, so I've pretty much got this filled up. What I noticed is that a lot of my clay was really wet, and really wet clay in here that doesn't balance out with really some drier clay is going to make a mess. So what I have done is I started using some baked clay, and I'll just cut off a chunk from my baked clay, and I'll put it in the top, and I'll help mix that together with what's already in there. That way, if you have a problem of too wet of clay, the baked clay is already really, really great, and it'll help kind of balance out the quality of the clay. We want to try to get it so that when it's done mixing, you actually see these really clean ribbons within here. So here's kind of a chart to help you stay organized. Right now I've just added the clay. Right now I'm going to move into checking the mix and making sure that the consistency of the clay is good. If you want to come on over. So right now you can kind of see that there's starting to be some ribbons. I'll get it started here again. And what we're looking for is clear, distinct little sections of clay that look clean. And that just means that the balance of the clay is mixed well. If you don't see that, that probably just means let it mix for a little bit. Normally this, I don't want you to sit here and let it mix for more than 4 or 5 minutes, because it will overheat and shut off. So just give it a little bit of time, maybe a minute or two. And here you go. You see the ribbon of clay within here. It's starting to kind of separate and segregate, and it looks like really nice, clean clay. All right, so then when it's to this point, I normally will take a scraper and scrape down the sides. What I'm doing is I'm preparing that this is going to make a really nice vacuum seal, because that's the next step. So I'm scraping down any clay that's going to be around here, Be careful of the little rubber gasket that's around the edge. You do want to clean that around that, but try not to break or tear that. So this clay can go back in. This clay you don't have to clean off of the actual front of the lid. And then I'll clean around the edges here too. Just trying to ensure that I'm going to make a nice vacuum. It's going to seal really well. Okay. The other thing that you can check is down here in this chamber. It's kind of the overflow chamber. And if you get any clay there, just take that out. Now this stuff is kind of dry. I'm gonna go put that into the sink. But if it is nice, good clay, you can either put it back in here or into your reclaim bucket. It's up to you. Once that's cleaned out, then you could put this cover back on. Make sure that this is clean. You just can wipe it with a sponge if you need to. And sometimes that water helps make a nicer, tighter seal. Okay, so this is scraped down. This is good. I'm gonna lock this in place and let it mix for just a minute. All right, so ready to vacuum. This is all cleaned out and locked down, mixed well. I've cleared out the chamber here. And this goes on, well, perpendicular. That means that it's going to lock the air. And I'm gonna turn on the bottom knob, which is the vacuum. You'll hear the vacuum kick in. And I am looking to get it to say 25 inches per mercury. So putting in your knee here, pushing down here, making sure the lid is on the end, making sure that it's sealed so that the vacuum can actually draw. So now you see that the needle is increasing in the pressure. And I'm gonna wait till it says 25 and then I can start to pug. So it's gonna go to there. I'm gonna switch my lever, 1, 2, 3, third knob down. I'm gonna switch it to pug and move it to the left so then it will extrude out. I have my good clay bucket ready to go. And I will hit the start button. What I'll do is I'll watch it start to come out and I'll use my hand just to pull up from the bottom to kind of break it off in about 1 foot to 18-inch sections. Okay, then I'll put the cap back on the end and I'll be good to go.